نرحب بكم ويسعدنا أن نبدأ الآن جلسة حوارية بعنوان التفوق في أوقات المتغيرات المتسارعة، بناء ثقافة التعلم المستمر. نأمل من مدير الجلسة الأستاذ علي أصلان التكرم بتقديم متحدثيها.
Thank you so much indeed for this very kind introduction, ladies and gentlemen. My name has just been stated is Ali Aslan. I'm an international presenter and journalist, and it is my great pleasure to be moderating the very first panel of this year's Financial Academy Forum, titled Thriving Through Rapid Changes, Building a Culture of Continuous Learning, ladies and gentlemen. And you can look forward to a very insightful debate because we have four outstanding speakers assembled for the debate that will now follow here on the stage. First up, he's the Managing Director and CEO of Jadwa Investment, a leading investment management and advisory firm in the MENA region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tariq Al-Sudari. And while Mr. Tariq is making his way to the stage, it is my great pleasure to welcome the next speaker. He's the Managing Director and CEO of SAB Invest, a leading investment firm here in Saudi Arabia. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Ali Al-Mansour. Also delighted to welcome to the stage the CEO of MetGulf, one of the largest and oldest insurance companies here in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Umar Al-Mahmoud. And last but certainly not least, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of the London Business School, one of the most renowned and highly ranked business schools in the world, Dr. Francois Ortalo-Manier, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here, obviously in the audience, but also here on stage for this very important panel discussion titled Thriving Through Rapid Changes, Building a Culture of Continuous Learning. We have four highly ranked experts here with us, so this is promising to be a very fruitful debate. Tariq, let me start with you. Tariq. As the Managing Director and CEO of Jadwa Investment, and that goes for all of you, of course, here on stage, these days, immediate results, no matter where we look, certainly in politics, in sports, in culture, but first and foremost in business, immediate results matter. They are very essential. So some people are critical or rather suspicious that the concept of continuous learning sometimes seems to clash with this desire and the need for immediate results. It is sometimes met with doubt, as you know, some calling it even unrealistic in environments focused on immediate productivity. So I wanted to get your reaction to this as somebody who's at the forefront, obviously, as a CEO of a leading investment management and advisory firm. What is your response to those who are rather suspicious or rather critical when they say there seems to be an incompatibility between continuous learning and productivity, immediate results?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you all. There is certainly a balance to be had and a trade-off. And the trade-off in this context that any organization faces is between immediate short-term results and long-term competitiveness, long-term effectiveness, and sustainability. And if you focus exclusively on the short term, you will be successful in the short term, but then you will fall behind in the long term. And so it's not really an option to choose between the two. You have to pursue the two, and you have to pursue it in a in an effective and delicate manner, because ultimately continuous training goes to the heart of maintaining and building your competitive edge. And I think your competitive edge comes from building an organization that is distinctive, that is agile, that is adaptive. And that's true everywhere in professional services and financial services, but I think it's especially true in the context of the Saudi market, where we are seeing a highly dynamic economic context with a transformative change, with regulatory reforms, with demographic and technological trends that are rapidly changing. And so training and development is critical to ensuring that the whole organization is updated and is reacting and adapting to that changing context. The other thing I would highlight is that training is not only about professional development and content learning. It goes beyond that. It's about building relationships and networks. It's about personal rejuvenation. It's about cultural enhancement. And all of that goes towards attracting and retaining and building top talent, which ensures your long-term effectiveness and sustainability.
Yeah, thank you so much indeed. Agility is key, you said. I think that is a very important statement, stressing that continuous learning is driving the resilience, if you will, and the adaptability in a very fast-changing financial landscape. Thank you so much. I will, of course, come back to you throughout this discussion, much more to be looked at here. But let me bring in Ali Al-Mansour here at this particular point. As the Managing Director and CEO of SAB Invest, I wanted to give you a chance to build upon the statements that Tariq just provided. And the notion out there that some people say there seems to be, to reconcile, if you will, the need for immediate productivity and results versus continuous learning. There seems to be a gap, some people say, in the concept. What's your reply?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, all. Very happy to be here. So I had a dinner with a friend.
Perhaps you can bring the microphone closer. Thank you.
Do you hear me okay now?
Much better.
So I had a dinner with a friend about a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, and how we as organizations should react to that and prepare ourselves. He's a little bit older than me, and he was a professional accountant in the early 80s. And he said, listen, back then we used to do our accounting work with these large hard copies and pen and paper. And then the spreadsheets came out, and we all panicked. We thought this is going to end our careers. It's going to replace us. However, when we started to accept it and start to learn how to use it, it actually made it, empowered us, helped improve our accuracy, our efficiency. We were able to handle a lot more clients, which translated into growth for the organization. And this is really was a story that makes one think, now with the hindsight, all of us now use the spreadsheets in all of our companies. And with this hindsight, just imagine organizations that resisted using this technology and this tool that came out, and what would have that meant for their productivity and efficiency. And there has been a number of studies, and I'm sure you've seen some of those, especially published by talent-focused organizations, measuring the financial impact on continuous learning, and developing a strong culture of learning and development on the financial performance of companies. And I've seen different numbers, but I've seen profitability differential of more than 20% for companies that embrace and continuously invest in the development of its team versus those that do not. And I think all of us who've studied in college economics, we all, in the first maybe lesson, we learned that labor times productivity equals growth. And labor is the men and women staffing the organizations, but productivity is the skills, the knowledge, the technologies used. Yeah. So it's more of really mathematical that results in growth, and hence the investment in, or the continuous investment through learning and development and the productivity is extremely important for organizations. And organizations that adopt continuous learning and development as a culture tend to be more open-minded to new innovations and new technologies. They tend to be more resilient and less prone to disruption.
Yeah, the continuous learning aspect is really the backbone, if you will, of resilience, something that you, I think, put very eloquently, echoing also many of the sentiments and thoughts that Tariq put forth prior. Omar, let me bring you in here as well. As the CEO of MetGolf, of course, you know a thing or two about motivating your people to do, to get on board and adjust and adapt to the concept of continuous learning, which we're talking about here as well. We might talk later on throughout the discussion about some of the resistance that some of you are facing, but let's stick with the opening question here, and let's stick to the gap sometimes that the doubters, the few doubters of continuous learning out there may put forth. Some leaders like you say, look, I would very much like to implement this very important concept, which is indispensable, which we heard, but I need to produce results here.
Yeah, sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you, first of all, for having me in here in this panel, and I hope that I will answer the question in a good way and to help everyone in the market to develop their site also. I clearly understand our doubt, and always when we have a business like insurance, it's a short-term and short-term return. We sell policies for 12 months or something like that, and always they think about the operation, how's the operation to get immediate result. But personally, after this long journey in the insurance, I believe that we are an insurance market in very critical position right now. There is old and traditional way of doing the insurance, and there is the digital part or the digital era that we have it. The company who continue do the insurance in the traditional way and handling the business with the papers or the old mentality on that, I think they will end up with couple of profit for a short term. But down the road, who invests in the technology is the winner. So to invest in technology, that means you have to invest in your capital, your people. The main capital for the insurance company or for any organizations, the people. So investing in that capability for the people, it's a main strategic goal of us. And when you go to the country like Saudi Arabia, that the digital government that we have it's totally different than any other country. So even when we visit a lot of global insurance company worldwide, we found ourselves that we have this base of technology. It's totally different than the whole market worldwide. So when we check the capability even from the international partner to come and invest in that one, that we found there is a gap. And the only way to do that, to invest in your people and invest learning them to go with the future of the digital. So continuous learning and continuous improving the team is the main, let you say it in other words, it's a winning horse for you for long term. So it's clearly in our strategy, we do a balance between the short term benefit that we get it from the financials, but also we see the future by building the right capable people. Mainly, when we go back to the insurance is young in Saudi Arabia. And we have to invest heavily about Saudi capabilities in that market to build the future of this one. Our friends in banks, they have this experience for long, more than 50 or 60 years, but in our insurance market, the insurance authority, it just created short time, thanks historical for Sam and for supporting this one, but now it's an era of insurance. So to build the capability, you need to invest heavily in the training of the people to go down the road with a strategic goal to get the right results, not for 24, 25 only, that we are building capability for the future.
Yeah, I think that's very well put, that continuous learning is really strategic investment, as you call it, to drive innovation and, of course, resilience for long-term success. Thank you so much. Let me bring in Francois here at this particular point. Francois, as you represent here one of the most renowned and highly ranked business schools in the world. So you are training the next batch of leaders who have to get not just acquainted with the system of continuous learning, but have to live it, have to demonstrate it. What is your experience when it comes to the very, very understandable needs and ambition to produce immediate results and productivity versus the concept of continuous learning?
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. It's delighted to be here. Let me first bring maybe the bigger context of Saudi Arabia. Where is it that this performance imperative comes from? It comes from a very ambitious Vision 2030. And so yet, everyone experiences a tension between producing today and learning for tomorrow. But what is particularly good here is it's all for a purpose that is clear, that is a collective purpose. And that starts framing the tension differently, because now we know the why, and the why is a shared why across organizations. Second, let me go to the more nitty-gritty. When we talk about continuous learning, it's interesting. I want to point it out. We didn't talk about continuous teaching. We're talking about the culture. We're talking about how do we create an environment for people to engage in continuous learning. And so maybe to demystify those big words, it can be as simple, and that's what we learn from learning theories, what we learn from our experience, that be as simple as developing in people habits of reflection. Asking oneself what went well today, what could be even better tomorrow. Taking the time for that. It can be also creating coherent learning journey programs that have peaks and moments for reflection, but also moments for immersion, experiences, projects that stretch people, and to do that for the individual, for the team, for the organization. And so what we've learned at LBS is doing all of that, of course, there's tremendous value to grounding everything we do on academic research, both about the content of strategy or finances, but also about the learning. The tremendous value in doing this, in enriching the experience of the participants with their diversity. But the most important, in particular here, is to understand the context, to listen, to learn what are the objectives of the individual, of the teams, of the organization, so that you can create not just the change for today, for the performance tomorrow, but acknowledging that Vision 2030 is not just a peak and then everybody relax. It's a stepping stone. And so the continuous learning must bring sustainable change. And what we've learned there is that it starts with very strong partnerships between organizations and learning organizations like ours. And the secret ingredient is, all of you leaders in the room, is your commitment and you role modeling to others that continuous learning is also for you.
I think, thank you so much, first and foremost, for putting the context of continuous learning in the context of what is happening here in this country, the very ambitious, driven agenda 2030 that is being promoted by everyone here on stage, but certainly also in the audience. Perhaps throughout the discussion we can get into more comparatives as far as how the KSA is faring and leading in terms of continuous learning when it comes to other countries and the continents. But let's make it a bit more specific here and talk about the innovative approaches and strategies that you have all demonstrated for continuous learning. I think everybody here is very much on the same page as far as the relevance, the importance of continuous learning for the success of your companies. All of you have stressed that, Tariq. So let's make this a bit more personalized, if you will, and a bit more detailed about what you have done at Jadwa Investment specifically to enhance organizational learning and innovation? What are some of the tools, what are some of the contexts that you have put forth as a leader?
So a number of things. We've tried to think about what are the challenges that people face when it comes to the question of engaging in learning and development, and how we can enable them and help them to overcome that. And so when we look at typically what stands in the way, obviously you have to start with embedding training and development as part of the cultural, of the organizational psyche and culture. And so you have to communicate that continuously, but then you have to walk the talk, which means you budget for it and you commit resources. And the way that we have worked towards ensuring that the resources are always available is we actually budget for training per head count. And so it's not a set number that gets consumed by a first-come, first-served basis, but there is a secured budget for each person to engage in training annually, and therefore that becomes an available resource for them to engage in. Second is there's always the tendency for team members to deprioritize or postpone training because they like to prioritize work, they enjoy learning on the job, and training can become secondary. And so we try to nudge people and encourage them in a number of ways. One is by including training as part of the annual performance review to make sure that people engage in training. But we also try to vary the channels through which training is made available. And so for those who are excited about long-distance travel, that's always available, going to business schools and other institutions. But we also offer, of course, online programs and virtual programs, but we also invite professors and experts to come on premise and to offer training to our team. We've also recently launched what we call Jadwa Talks, which is a series of interviews with experts on topics of relevance that we make available to both our team members but also to our clients, and it becomes an available resource there. And then the third challenge is once a team member engages in training, how do we disseminate that knowledge and maximize the impact within the organization so it's not just that individual? And so we've done two things there. One is we've created an internal library where we capture the curricula and the material and the training content that team members engage in that then becomes readily available to the rest of the organization. But we've also launched an internal series that we call I Ask sessions, where team members would actually present on a topic of expertise or interest. And so it could be presenting on an innovative structure or product or idea or technology that they're working on, or it could be about a personal experience, about summiting Mount Kilimanjaro and what they've learned from that and the takeaways from that experience. And so that becomes an interactive way for people within the organization to also share that knowledge internally.
Yeah, interesting enough. Very aspects that you have put forth here within your company, and this is being embraced, if I understand correctly.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah, and that's very encouraging to hear because this is a challenge, right? At the end of the day, Omar, this is, you can lead by example, you have to lead by example, but at the same time, to build a culture of continuous learning requires the acceptance, of course, of your colleagues, your workforce. How are you specifically building a culture of continuous learning What innovative steps have you taken at MetGulf so far?
Yeah, I think that the main challenge is how to enhance the behavior of the people to be more in learning concept and to go to learn a lot of new technologies, new regulations. So in MetGulf, we built something called Learning Hub. And the Learning Hub, we use multiple factors to design the courses and what's exactly needed for training the people that we have. We are a company less than 1,000 employees, but by using this hub, we put a lot of contents, and we use the artificial intelligence to decide what's the best solutions. Like in this hub, we bought the job description, the strategy of the company, and the people capabilities and the people certifications, all these things, and we have a clear training path for individualization and a high-level individualization for the people. Sure, there is part of the courses is related to the compliance, to the governance, to the risk, and to the cyber, which is the standard things when you go to this kind of business, like the financial sector. But also we have to do a lot of training in other aspects, technical of insurance itself, and also the digital part of that. So by doing this mix, we designed the program for a lot of segment within the company also, and we defined between the top leaders and the employees and the manager on this level. By using the technology and we're using the online solutions that we have today, we succeed within a year to make 30 on-prem courses and also 420 plus online courses for employees. We succeed to make around 4 courses per employee within a year, which is, I think, it's a high number to have this continuous training, and it's become clearly in our strategy and also in our KPI for the whole leaders and their employees. We have very clear section about the training and passing the exams of that one. But this takes time from us, sure, but also what we find in MetGulf, there is a huge number of young people and fresh graduates. We invest a lot in that people. And also, they find it's very, the new generations, there is a difference between the old generation and new generation. The new
They're
generation,
easier to adapt, they're more open to changes?
Yeah, and when they have this kind of online courses and also on-prem courses, the mix of this one that give them excited to do a lot of training on that one. And also, by using technology, it's become there is a library. Anytime by their mobile, they can go back to this library and get all the information of these courses. By changing this culture within the company itself, it's become, we become, I believe, very advanced in training, and also you have as a management to balance between your daily operation things and the courses and how you arrange that balances. Because if you go to the co and tell them that I will get these employees from you to do courses, I said directly when I do my job as operation. But the good cooperation between the management, each other, between the departments, that helps and supports that clearly.
Yeah, that's certainly where the coordination and the leadership have to go hand in hand. And thank you for pointing out the many strategic technological advancements and advantages that you bring into the process of continuous learning. Certainly that's the number that you have put forth, very impressive indeed, 400 courses per year for each employee. Certainly very impressive. And you mentioned the young people, of course, many of whom we have here in the audience today, who, of course, perhaps by their sheer nature are more receptive to the changes, rapid changes that we're all seeing, something that Francois, of course, was working with students on a daily basis can attest to. I'm going to come to you, Francois, in just a second, but let me sort of, to get the CEO perspective here, let me bring in Ali Al-Mansour once more and get also an idea and an understanding from you how you are promoting continuous learning, how you are on a daily basis helping to change the mindset amongst your employees.
Sure. So similar themes to what the colleagues here have mentioned. We at SAB Invest, we build it around 5 pillars. The first pillar is partnerships with leading institutions, training and learning institutions. On top of our list is the Financial Academy, and we work also with international renowned learning institutions to ensure there is always a flow of learning and development offering that our team can access and can be engaged and interested in. Then we are a strong supporter as a company of professional certification. So we sponsor the entire journey of our team members to obtain their professional certifications, from the preparation to the exam taking to the membership. And we financially support that and also recognize people for that. We then do coaching or develop coaching arrangements, so we can also leverage the in-house expertise of our subject matter experts. So we pair them with the junior team members, so they have this one-on-one relationship that they can share with them their expertise, and they are more accessible to the junior team members to learn from their senior colleagues. And also they can do this by working together on a project for the company, so that's engaging while doing your work as well. We also take seriously our professional development and personalized development plans, and we refresh those every year to ensure that there is a conversation between a manager and a team member, and with the involvement of the HR team to ensure that we have that conversation annually and specifically understand the needs of an individual and the development gaps, so we put it in paper and can action it in terms of engaging them in the right training and development. The last one is we recognize people for, as much as we recognize people for achieving financial targets, delivering projects, we recognize people for academic and learning achievements. So colleagues who achieve a professional certification or finish a learning that takes effort and time, we do recognize them by shaking their hands, thanking them, recognizing in front of colleagues, and also financially recognizing them through promotions and career progression.
Yeah, I think the acknowledgement that you have put forth, Ali, the acknowledgement, public acknowledgements and praise, if you will, of people who engage, of colleagues, of employees who engage actively in continuous learning is a very effective, very important tool to make sure that this is an example, to set out a very positive example for the rest of them. Francois, we just heard from 3 outstanding leaders, CEOs, about the many strategic and innovative approaches they have taken to instill a culture of continuous learning within their company. As somebody who is very familiar with the subject matter and has sort of a global outlook and perspective on these things, what are some of the educational innovations that you have seen that effectively promotes a culture of continuous learning in businesses, building upon what we've already heard here on stage?
So Ali, I mean, you're right. These are outstanding leaders, and congratulations to the organizer for picking such outstanding role models. As it happens, the kingdom is full of role models in a way because of that imperative. And because people recognize that it's a strategic imperative and there's just no choice. And we've heard about walking the talk, embedding it into the budget. We heard about deploying great technology and making the most of it to serve. And I really want to pick up the point about the recognition. Because while we talk about culture, and there might be a feel that culture is a bit wishy-washy, but there's nothing like paying people and rewarding them in a performance system. The people, their leaders.
Almost putting it on the same level as productivity.
Yeah, it's going back to what I mentioned earlier, is knowing how to manage the tension between the productivity for today and the change, not just for tomorrow or not just for 2030, but the sustainable change. So what I would say that from London Business School's perspective, that we have found to be particularly good, and in a way it's our own innovation for our own culture of learning, is what we call our design lab, which is an actual physical space and talent to populate this space where we take the time to sit with leaders of organizations who are as advanced as these ones here on stage with me, or organizations that are getting going. Not necessarily with a particular learning objective, but probably more of a business strategic change objective. And take the time as a school to learn, to listen, and humbly approach what is the opportunity ahead. And then we put in place learning mechanism because we design for impact with the organization. We design for impact for the individual, design for impact on the team, design for impact on the organization. So we have clear metrics. And then we can go back and we can learn with the organization. Our longest partnership in the kingdom is with SABIC since 2009. And why is it that we stick together? Is because it's working. We know what the objective is, we know what the metrics, and we have feedback mechanism. And we have a faculty who is willing to be agile and to listen to maybe what worked last year doesn't work this year. There's a new population, need to adjust. So that we too have our own continuous learning processes to adjust to the change that are happening here because you are engaged in continuous learning. So, and I'll finish by picking up a word that we heard about is partnership. That in the end, learning is about a partnership where we are investing together. And it's delightful in the kingdom how much this is understood and how much investment is taking place in those partnerships.
Yeah, I think it's become abundantly clear throughout this discussion that not only is the concept of continuous learning understood, but how wholeheartedly it is being embraced in this country. Francois, something that you have, as somebody who's also familiar with the dealings in Saudi Arabia, you're very familiar here and have pointed it out correctly. Now, I think it's understood from everything we've heard up until now from these highly outstanding individuals that the importance, the relevance of continuous learning. But to play devil's advocate, if you will, for the remainder of this discussion, for the last 20 minutes or so of this discussion, of course, nothing in life is without friction. Nothing is without pushbacks and without consequences. And that is why, Omar, let me start out with you here. You've already spoken extensively about the strategies that you have implemented within your own company. But of course, this cannot come at the expense of results, and this cannot come at the expense of a performance that is being expected of you as a CEO. How do you balance that, and how do you deal with some of the pushbacks, perhaps a reluctance on the part of some colleagues to subscribe, if you will, to the concept of continuous learning? Certainly, there must be some bumps and challenges along the road.
Yeah, always there is a challenges like this, and when you take it as an insurance market, we are first of all we work in high and regulated market. It's something that you have to be aligned with the compliance. You have to align with all the regulation change that you have to do it, because we are still, as I said before, we are still in the young market of insurance. There is a lot of changes. There is a lot of technology. There is a lot of new ideas came from InsurTech to new product, new regulation. This aside, it's a challenge, and how to take these things in a simple way, and simple words, and simple training to the team. Not all of my employees that they are a compliance guys or risk or cyber or something like that. So one of the main challenges that we have, the challenge like this, we adjust that and we solve that by creating courses and by simplifying these kind of regulation, that continuous regulation, to be sure that it's go to the whole employees in the very nice way. And we use mainly the e-channel for that, to make it easy, faster, and direct messages to make it simple. From other side, let me be frank. If you deal with the sample like what our colleague Mansour said, that accountant in 1980, and he said that how the change happened. It's also in our market. We have underwriters, we have claim guides, we have a lot of people that they are expert, but still in the mentality of using the things in the old in the traditional way. So mix the culture between young and expertise that force the people to both parties to work together to learn from the history, and also they have to be aligned with the future things. So yes, there is sometimes there is a resistance on these things, but I don't want to say that by forcing. It's not forcing. It's if you're not willing to learn, you will not learn.
Right, it's gently nudging.
Yeah, but when we make these things too simple for them, and we hit the point with very systematic way, and mix this kind of training with their daily operational, and they get directly impact on that one. That's one of the solutions that we use to solve this kind of.
Yeah, thank you so much, especially pointing out, of course, that in such a highly regulated world of insurance that you are maneuvering, that certainly changes don't come easily. I think that is understood, but it's interesting how you pointed out that you are overcoming these challenges. Tariq, also at Jadwa Investment, I was wondering about some of the challenges that you have encountered along the way and how you have successfully addressed them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll add one point to what I mentioned earlier, which is I think it's ingrained in our psyche that if you're not in the office sitting on a desk, then you're not working. And I think this comes from how we've experienced schooling, all the way from elementary school to high school to college. What you experience there is you get a predefined problem with a predefined answer, and you're supposed to sit and think through it until you crack it. And people and young professionals come into the workplace expecting that it's the same process. And so when they have a task or a project to work on, the immediate visualization is I go to my desk, I have a nice cup of coffee, I sit, I think through it until I figure it out. But in reality, in the real world, first of all, the problem is not a well-defined problem with one singular answer. It's actually an open-ended problem. It's what else can we do? What ideas out there are we not doing? How can we improve our offerings? How can we serve our clients better? How can we address this issue in a more effective way? And so these are open-ended questions that have multiple potential answers. Second is you don't have to answer these problems solo. You don't have to sit alone. In fact, it's not the best way. The best way is to actually expose yourself, to interact with other people, to brainstorm ideas, to hear different ideas, and then eventually a light bulb may
appear.
Exactly, and help you solve that problem. And so what I've seen many people, when they go into training programs, it's not just, well, I've learned how to do this aspect of finance. It's, you know, I've met these people, and they have a similar challenge that they face in their organization, and this is how they do it. And I think this is a good idea for us to implement with the following tweaks. And that's where the brilliance and the innovation comes from. I actually, we have a team that went on a business trip with an undefined objective. And it was, I mean, they would tell you it was the most painful experience, because you're scheduling meetings with people overseas, and the objective was to just explore with no defined problem to be solved. That 1 week trip They came back from that experience with an idea that is today one of our business lines at Jadwa. And so get out of your office, interact with people. This is really how you get great ideas.
Yeah, certainly a great example of how you can get out of your comfort zone, dive into an unknown, if you will, and produce great and tangible results. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ali, we briefly and previously heard from Umar how he's navigating in a highly regulated world of insurance. Now, the banking sector, of course, is anything but. It is a very fast-paced nature, and productivity, if you will, is more than essential here. So I was wondering how you tackle the challenge of integrating continuous learning without disrupting the productivity in such a fast-paced nature that the banking industry finds itself in.
Sure. So maybe to build on what has already been said, it's an ongoing effort, and as you develop team members already in the organization to know how to balance, you'll have new joiners that will need also to develop the skill of balancing both performing and delivering in their work duties while continuing their learning and education. And we try to tackle it in maybe a few ways. One is that the training that we offer has a good degree of flexibility. Some of it is offered online, some of it in class, some of it outside. And the idea is to give people the flexibility to do their learning and development at their pace in a way that does not conflict with their required or the deliverables from a work standpoint. And we do encourage them, as leadership, we do encourage them to take time. Our work will always be there, so we encourage them to step aside because that's as important as what they're delivering on the job front. The second aspect we do is what we call just-in-time training, and this is essentially when people are working on a certain project and they are engaged in it and it's important to them, we try to provide them with the relevant training for that project and what they do. So they feel it's a tool that's supporting them deliver what they are doing. So they embrace it and they find it, and we see more people more receptive to that. Another aspect is before the beginning of the year, we build our training calendar for the entire year. So people have visibility on when each training is coming so they can work around it, schedule around it, and for important training courses, we would schedule those more frequently during a year so people have the opportunity, if they missed it the first time, they can do it the second or third time.
Thank you so much. Indeed, again, three companies that are standing out in how they tackle the challenges, Francois. I want to give you a chance to come right in here and get a quick reaction to what you just heard.
So once again, maybe let's bring a bit of international perspective. We've been here for many years, but we have been all around the world for many years. So one thing that works well here, I would say, the rest of the world shouldn't listen, with regard to resistance, is because there's so much momentum and so much youth, and so much is changing. We don't encounter here what we find in so many other countries that some of my colleagues call the permafrost. It's this layer of management that is like 3 from the CEO, who have been there for a long time and have thrived in the previous system, and they feel really threatened by continuous learning to the extent that it's about driving change. And because in so many ways, organization, the country is so young, because the ambition is so high, because there's so much momentum, what we find here is that's not there. And instead what we have is often the very top leaders, like people like you on stage, who actually get it. Or if they don't get it, they ask, can you, LBS, help me and my C-suite team to get it better so we can be better for everyone else for their learning. So congratulations, that's what works well. If I might ask a question about something maybe that could work better. And I'll give you an example. Last time I was here for the Great Futures Conference with the British government, I had over dinner a conversation with one of your ministers. And he said, Francois, I would like LBS to be more involved here and help us there. So I'm going to connect you to this person, but what I'll do is I'll meet with the chairman of the organization, and then you'll talk to his CEO, and the CEO will be in touch with you. That was at dinner. From the trail of email, it's pretty clear. The minister met with the chairman at 1 a.m., the chairman met with the CEO at 2 a.m., and at 3 a.m., I was sleeping the whole time. At 3 a.m., I had an answer, and I was asked for a meeting the next day. One thing we know that learning works well, you need to sleep. And we talk about work-life balance as if it were in opposition. But once again, the brain needs time to reconnect. And so how is it that we take that research seriously, so that learning is not just an activity I make you do at work, but I create properly an environment for you as a person to develop. And then the last thing I would say, because if you pay attention to some of our language, I mean, again, it's delightful to be here. We don't talk about teaching, we talk about culture of learning, but we still talk about tackling issues and stepping out of the comfort zone. There's great research, and we have fantastic experience at LBS all over the world, including here. Add a bit of playfulness. Because what we are talking here is not just about knowledge and skills, it's about a different mindset. And to shift people's mindset, you need to help them be open and curious. Sleeping matters, but open and curious playfulness will do that. And that would be just an encouragement. You know, with the technology, with online, if you look at what the most successful by the data app for learning in the world seems to be Duolingo. And what is it? That they found a way to make it playful and to make it fun. And people are sticking with it, and they are really engaging in continuous learning. So congratulations in the leadership here. Think about the physical aspect of your people and how they are set up for learning. And that is from our LBS experience around the world is smile and have some fun.
Well, have some fun along the way. I think the example that you have thankfully shared with us, you encounter with this minister, who shows, first of all, how quickly things change here, how fast people work, and that clearly Saudi people need less sleep than you and I. I think that is clearly established here. But no, very impressive example that you have given, really, how quickly ideas are being absorbed, implemented, and then put into practice. Very impressive indeed. Gentlemen, we're almost out of time, but in the remaining minutes, perhaps a very quick answer from all of you, 60 seconds, tops 2 minutes, because we've been talking about continuous learning, but even continuous learning has to evolve. It's not a rigid concept. So I was wondering, and Francois, perhaps we'll start this time in the reverse order. As somebody who is at the forefront of this theme at a very highly respected and outstanding academic institution, what are some of the trends that you're seeing looking into the future that will play a role when it comes to the concept of continuous learning, something that perhaps we may not be able to foresee even at this particular point in time?
So I'll pick up on some of what we heard in the video to start with, for example, is that, of course, AI is a big shift. And what's exciting is the ability to deliver much more personalized, just-on-time learning, to deliver nudges to people. And so we are able to do at a much larger scale what used to be the Oxford tutor with just 1 or 2 students at a time. But the danger is to lose the connection among people that you were talking about, that learning gives the opportunity to. So even though technology makes it easier to have a mass approach, an efficient approach, and to track people and to nudge them, I hope that in the future we don't lose track for the importance of the human interaction that provides so much richness. Understanding that it's about helping the human beings grow. And so let's see how together we can manage that we're still human in an environment where technology will be much better. And this is where I hope one thing that doesn't change is this academic research will always be ahead of asking those questions, or at least framing them. An organization like LBS, we will always pride ourselves in listening and hearing the experience that are happening on the field so that we can adjust with that. And I think that's something that's happening in our business, is the imperative for us to be agile. And maybe in the past we have not always been, but we see it as a competitive advantage. So the one word I will finish with is, in spite of all the innovations in technology and everything, is what we think is important is we keep our humility.
Very interesting concept, humility, despite the rapid technological advantage that we're facing, that we're battling sometimes, but which we're incorporating. Humility, I think, Francois, is a very interesting and important concept in the context of the changes that we find ourselves in. Ali Al-Mansour, let me also bring you in one more time about how you think continuous learning will evolve, and perhaps what's some advice that you have for some of the emerging leaders that we have here in the audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a CEO of an investment company today, I spend 50% of my time on investments and the other 50 on technology and technology-related activities and digital activities that we do with the company, because it became integrated with how we do investment management and portfolio management. And technology runs across our entire value chain, from wealth advisory to portfolio management to research to reporting and analytics. So I think it's important, as we develop ourselves and core competencies and skills in investments, we also pay attention and develop our skills and the related technology to the field.
Thank you so much, Ali. Umar, also final remarks from you. Technology, clearly AI, these are trends, these are phenomena none of us will be able to escape, but put them in the context of continuous learning, about how you see this this theme evolving throughout the years.
Yeah, sorry. Any company want to build the future, they have to believe, first of all, to keep and training the main asset for them, which is the human capital. Human capital is the main asset for any company. Continuous training, continuous learning is the key for the future of any entity want to go to the future. But that have to be with the latest and the solution for that one. In our days, 20 years ago, or something like that, if we have a course, you will have one course overseas every 3 years or 2 years. Was too difficult to get this experience from other countries, mainly in our business like insurance. But today with this kind of digital, it's easy. Now I can link with any expertise from our friends Swiss Re or Munich Re or any big name worldwide. A course will be in a week with big number of attendees from your side and online. So continuous training is very is the main key for your main assets, which is the capital, and using the digital things or technology is the easiest and fastest way to keep this one on trending.
Thank you so much. Tariq, we started this panel with you. We're going to end it with you. You're going to get the final remarks here on this panel. Also, let's get your assessment here on the future of continuous learning, and perhaps also a message to the emerging business leader who one day, inshallah, will sit here on the stage and talk about the very same things and themes that we have discussed here throughout the past 60 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of emerging trends, what we're seeing, at least within Jadwa, in terms of top of mind and areas of interest that we've recently have seen, one is health and well-being, and people showing interest in that topic. Second is AI, and AI not in terms of just what's happening out there and what's the technology, but how can I use it in my daily work and in my daily life on a personal level. And so actually we've initiated a trial in one of our departments where all outgoing non-confidential emails are now proofread by AI. And we think it's a good way to actually improve team members' writing and communication skills. And so we're trying it at this department, and then depending on how that goes, we will roll it out. I think in terms of one final thought, beyond everything we discussed and the importance of learning, I think the importance of learning for the purpose of innovation and how to link learning to innovation and integrate that. We've talked about the importance of interacting with people outside of the organization and capturing knowledge in that seemingly informal, unstructured way. But the other thing is also to be disciplined about the innovation process. And I think the best way to approach it is to go through a process of validate and then expand. And what I mean by this is you want, when you discover an idea that is worth exploring, the best way to initiate is to initiate at a very small scale. Think of it as a lab. And then you subject that experiment to stress testing, to trial, and then an iterative process of feedback and validation. And only once that concept is validated, then you push aggressively to expand it. And I think that's how you maximize the impact of learning and be disciplined and risk managed in your approach to innovation.
Yeah, very important balance that needs to be struck here. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this panel, the very first panel of this year's Financial Academy Forum, has shown and demonstrated a couple of things. One, that Saudi Arabia has world-class CEOs and companies. I think that has become abundantly clear here throughout this discussion. And the second thing, of course, is I think it's become very clear that building a culture of continuous learning is not optional. Quite on the contrary, it is indispensable for the future of any company, not just those, obviously, who were represented here on stage, something that the four gentlemen, I think, laid out splendidly and eloquently throughout the past 60 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Thriving through rapid changes, building a culture of continuous learning. Tariq Al-Sudari, Ali Al-Mansour, Umar Al-Mahmoud, and François Otadou, thank you so much. This is your applause. Much appreciated.